Alright, how's it going, lads? It's your boy Andrew RFC, and we are back for a quick video where we're going to be talking about what I think the Premier League is going to be looking like this year. Now, as we are doing this video right now, the Prem is just kicking off, and Liverpool is already up 3-0 against Norwich in the first game. Definitely a tale of things to come for Liverpool. I think they're going to have a very strong season, but we're going to get to them in just a sec. Now, here's the thing. Predicting all 20 teams in their exact place is basically impossible. So this is kind of just fun. We're going to go with the things. I'm not going to give too much of an explanation of why I think a lot of these teams are going to be finishing where they are. Maybe near the top half of the table, I will be doing so. But let's get this thing started off right away with the bottom of the table. In 20th place, we have none other than Sheffield United, and of course I have them getting relegated. It is their first time back in the Prem in quite a while. Again, as I did mention, newly promoted, but they haven't done much in the transfer market and the transfer window as well. Of course, they're going to have some surprise games out there, but I think they're going to be falling right back down to the championship at the end of the season. Coming in at number 19, we got Brighton. That's right, I got Brighton actually dropping back down to the championship after coming back to the Prem. They only survived the drop last season by about 2 points, and you know what? I don't see them surviving again. I think Cardiff, when they did fall down, they were actually very close to knocking Brighton out and putting them back, and that's kind of saying something. No offense to Cardiff, but I do see Brighton no chance being able to survive the drop this year. Alright, up next in 18th, we got none other than Burnley. That's right, Burnley is going to be dropping down in my opinion. I really do like their manager. I think they have a solid team, but they were also a nice surprise last year, at least at the beginning. But again, they didn't make much moves in the market compared to a lot of the kind of quote-unquote lower level teams in the Prem. I don't really think they have a lot of scoring options. Between a lot of the bottom teams last season, they had one of the worst goal differentials between them. They had a very solid defense, but I don't see it being enough to survive again this year. 17th is up next, and we have Southampton just surviving the drop. Of course, last year they did get a little bit dangerously close to the relegation zone at times, and I think they just survive again this year. Charlie Austin is gone, but they still have a very experienced squad of players coming back, and also a lot of loan options coming back that are going to give them a bit more depth, and I think it might just be enough for them to survive. At number 16, I mentioned them at the top. They are down 3-0 right now, but it's none other than Norwich. I think they are going to be fine in the Premier League as the year does go on. Newly promoted, of course, winning the championship last year, aka the second division, and I just feel like they will do well in the Prem. I feel like they're going to be able to beat out again the likes of Brighton, Burnley, and many others, and be able to survive that drop in the 16th spot. Alright, up next then, 15th, we have Newcastle. Now, some people actually have Newcastle closer to the relegation zone, but I think it is a little bit hard and a little bit kind of nuts to put them that low. Reason being, you still have Scar on your defense. He was great last year, and I do like the signings of Joleton and St. Maxim as well. If Benitez was here, I think this wouldn't even be a question of them being higher. I'm not too sure about Steve Bruce as a manager, and again, as always, Mike Ashley just sucks. Just sell the team, dude, if you have no interest in them, because if he does, this team can be a serious threat all over. 14th place, we have none other than Crystal Palace. And you know what? I actually wouldn't be shocked if they do drop even lower than 14th. You know what? I wouldn't even be surprised if they are fighting for their lives at the end of the season. Wan-Bissaka's gone. Zaha doesn't even want to be there. He's handed in a transfer request and wants no part of this team. Michy Batshuayi is no longer there also. So again, I have them in 14th, but I feel like that's kind of generous. Again, I won't be surprised if they're falling to 16, 17, kind of with the teams that just came up from the championship. But for right now, I do have them in 14th, but again, we will see as the season does go on. 13th place, we have actually the worst team who was promoted technically in terms of points, and that's Aston Villa. Villa last year actually barely made it into the Premier League, but they made a lot of huge signings, and you know what? I think it is going to be good for them to have that depth, because if one guy's not playing good, they will probably have a next man up mentality where someone else could come in, play the position, and get things going for them. Overall, I do kind of like the look of Villa's team. I think they are going to be fine in the Premier League. 13th, again, could be a little bit generous, but I still think they're going to be comfortably surviving in the Prem. Up next at number 12, we have none other than Bournemouth. Staying around the same spot, they still have Wilson and King up top, and also, I think the biggest thing, Nathan Ake is still on this team. He is a very strong defender and probably the biggest part of Bournemouth as well. They made a couple of very small moves, but I think they'll still stay in about the 12th position, middle of the table. Up next at 11th, we have Leicester City. Now, again, Leicester, I won't be surprised if they drop a little bit more, but I think they finish in 11th. Harry Maguire is gone. They didn't really make much changes in total, but you still have Ricardo Pereira, who was arguably one of the better right backs in the Prem last year. You still have Jamie Vardy, you can never really rule him out, and you still have a pretty solid team of most of the guys who have been there, done that for them. So again, it's going to be a lot of the questions is, how are they going to be without Maguire? Also, they still got Schmeichel in goal, and guess what? He's still pretty decent. At number 10, we have West Ham being the next team to make the jump up to the top 10. Now, I really like the signing of Haller on this team. They've also made a couple other decent little moves here and there that I think can make them competitive, but with West Ham, they always find a way to kind of make these good signings and then kind of struggle a little bit in the big games, but it's going to be a telling season for them. I got them in number 10. At number 9, I actually got Watford for this year. I see them jumping up quite a bit over Leicester and West Ham, obviously. I think they made some good improvements. They still have a good team, the likes of Deulofeu and many others in there as well. And again, I really like the improvements that they made. They're kind of subtle ones. They're not huge. But again, I feel happy seeing them go into the number 9 spot. I think they'll actually do it quite comfortably as well. Coming in 8th place, we have none other than Everton. They stayed the same overall. Again, I think they paid a little too much for Alex Iwobi, but again, they have a similar team that they did last year. We saw flashes of Andre Gomez actually kind of fitting into the team as well. When he was getting going, he was looking pretty good. And as for the rest of the team, they aren't overall a bad squad, and I feel like they will be fine and staying around the same spot they did last year. Now, this is where everything gets interesting from 7th to 1st place, because as you can see, none of the big names have really been mentioned, but let's start with the first one. I actually have Manchester United dropping all the way to 7th place this year. Sure, they did sign the likes of Harry Maguire as well as Wan-Bissaka, but who's going to score the goals on this team? They lost Lukaku, and as much as people make fun of Lukaku, he was one of the top goal scorers on Manchester United. Are you really going to look at the likes of Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial to be your leaders up top? And mind you, Paul Pogba, who has publicly been saying he wants out of this team. Now here's the thing, Pogba could still go before the month ends to a team in Spain and France or anything like that. Will it happen? Well, we don't know. The dude, again, has publicly said he doesn't want to be here and kind of hinted at it. Now, another question is, what about Alexis Sanchez? Is he going to get himself going? Is he going to be able to score some goals as well? Which I don't really see happening. I feel like his moral is gone. I don't trust Ole as manager for a whole season either. Again, I see this being a disaster season for United. They improved their defense, which is huge. I really like kind of the idea of having Luke Shaw, Lindelof, Maguire, and Wan-Bissaka in the back with David De Gea, but to me, they don't have any real force in attack. Again, yes, Rashford and Martial are great players, but are they going to be leading the league and getting you enough goals? I really don't see it happening. At number 6, we got Chelsea. That's right, the Europa League winners I have dropping down to 6th place. That transfer ban did hit them really hard. David Luiz left, and it's actually weakened their defense even more. Realistically, who are they going to be playing at center back? Are you going to be putting Rudiger, who I think is already hurt again? You have Christensen there also. And then even on the left, Marcus Alonso was a liability a lot of times last year. So again, I think there's a lot more questions and answers at Chelsea, especially with Lampard taking over already. Also, the biggest one, Eden Hazard is gone. He was the bulk and the majority of everything for Chelsea. Can Pulisic really take over? I don't really know if he can. And also, striker position is a little bit weak. Are you really going to be relying on Olivier Giroud to do most of your scoring? It's going to be a big question. Also, Willian is still here. He has not been good for this team for quite a while. So again, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more questions for Chelsea than there is answers. One thing I will say though about Chelsea, calling it right now, N'Golo Kante will be the best player again on this team by year's end. In 5th place, a little bit surprising, we got none other than Wolves. That's right, I got Wolves moving up to 5th. They made even more signings and loan moves to bring in more players and improve their depth, which I think was the only thing they really needed from last year. You already have Raul Jimenez, who has been scoring a lot in the preseason and in the Europa League qualifying. Diego Jota is back. You also signed Cutrone from AC Milan. I think the biggest thing for Wolves is they are a year older. They have now seen the Prem. They're a little bit more used to it, and they were great against the top teams last year. Nuno Espírito Santo as well is an absolutely phenomenal manager, and I think he's actually going to see Wolves moving up to 5th place by year's end. They're also my bold prediction, obviously having them being ahead of United and Chelsea, but I don't know, there's a feeling that them being a year older, they can possibly do it. In 4th place, we got none other than Arsenal. Now, they're back in their normal spot, let the memes begin, but again, I do see it as a little bit of a weaker defense despite signing Tierney and as well as David Luiz. I think they did improve, but it's still not the best defense compared to the top teams, but they probably do have arguably one of the best attacks going into next year. You look at the likes of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Lacazette, and now Nicolas Pep joining the team. It is an absolutely dangerous front three, depending on the formation they play, of course. You know what? I think they did make some good improvements in the transfer window and the offseason as well, that I see them moving right back up to 4th. 3rd place is going to be none other than Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham made a lot of good moves in the transfer deadline window as well, finally getting that depth that has been needed for so long. No more is Harry Winks going to be the second option. You had Musa Sissoko, who had a great year last year, but now you bring in Lo Celso and Tanguy Ndombele as well, both coming into the team, both young midfielders and both players they've needed. Also, even the likes of Ryan Sessegnon joining another young player is absolutely phenomenal. Of course, they still have arguably the 2 best center back duo in the Prem with Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld, but they are a little bit weak on the left and right. You're going to be really relying on Danny Rose and Ben Davies on the left. Ben Davies has shown signs of improvement, and on the right, you only really have Serge Aurier and Walker Peters as well. So again, got to keep an eye out on the flanks, but overall in every other position, they seem strong. Christian Eriksen is staying. Harry Kane is still there. You still have Son. You have Lucas Moura, who finally had his breakout last year. So I think they are going to be comfortably in the 3rd place spot. And now, for the final 2, we are going to just skip ahead right to number 1 because, well, you could figure it out. It's between Liverpool and Man City. And at number 1, I got Manchester City repeating as champions yet again. It's too hard to knock this team off. Their depth is absolutely insane. They've even brought in another left back. They brought in João Cancelo. They have just added and not really let anyone go, that I think they're going to be loaded, even if there is injuries. Like last year, we saw Kevin De Bruyne go out for almost the whole season. Then you just had Bernardo Silva, David Silva, Raheem Sterling, and everybody just absolutely kill it where need be. And again, their bench is literally probably as good as half the teams in the Premier League. Their bench alone could probably arguably finish in the top 5 in the Premier League as well. I don't think it's a hard option. This is no disrespect to Liverpool. I think it's going to be a very tight race to the end again. That's going to end on probably 1 or 2 points, just like it did last year. But yeah, that is my Premier League predictions. I'm also going to be making a video on what FIFA 19 says the Premier League will end as. I did most of the transfers and everything on the game, so we'll see how they think the league will end. Nonetheless, if you are new, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe, and of course, join in the comment section below.